Namaskar and welcome to this exciting new episode of Sathology Debunking Mythology. Sat means truth, Logos means a study or science, Sathology means a science of truth or study of truth, and opposite of that is mythology. Myth means a fake lie imagination. Mythology means a study of fake lie imagination. Today we're going to continue part two of the history of Indian calendar system. I have a very special guest and Muni, Rishi, people, many of you are opposing it. Why I call only one person as Rishi Muni. You can also become it. I'll call you also. Anyone who's watching it, I'll also call you. Our principle is Amanina Manadena. Give all respect to others, expect nothing in return.
Kirtaniya Sadahari.
Kirtaniya Sadahari. And the last point, somebody commented on my jacket, so I'll say beforehand only, all my jackets are non-leather. They're just fake. So Nileshji, a very important thing is going on in the US and which affects our community in a big way. Dharmic community, which is American Hindus or anyone who is following yoga or meditation, believes in reincarnation or believes in next life, afterlife. Like this is all Sanatana Dharma community on various degrees. It's a large community. Last time I estimated about 50 million people. In the critical race theory, one of the things is that the oppressed races are demanding more rights. And obviously, the people whose origin are European settlers are uncomfortable with that. So what is your view on that before we start off this presentation, please?
Okay, so I mean, you mentioned it. The race theory is itself a concept that was devised by someone sitting in Germany, like less than 200 years ago, and it was an extremely now that genetics tells us that there is no race, there is no existence of a race in the sense we imagine. That is not to say we don't have differences. I mean, we have differences. If you go to South America and if you go to India versus China versus Russia, of course, we see the differences. The differences in skin color, I mean, they happen for many different reasons. But that race theory was extremely juvenile to begin with. So we will come back to this critical race theory and are they asking some more rights? No, they are asking for their basic rights, because they were exploited beyond imagination, beyond human imagination, beyond a basic moral fabric. It was just destroyed. But I don't know if you know the funny aspects of a theory where this German guy, the name is escaping me. So he is very much into that dogma of a Christianity. That's where he's thinking. And so the Adam and Eve, and the world was perfect, and then the multiple sons, what are their names, Ham and whatnot, and they went in different directions. And as you go away from the perfect creation, the things become inferior and inferior. Okay, so therefore, like African race was considered like different from a creation, but who decided? A guy in Germany, and interestingly, you'll see how subjective, how baseless these people will build it. This fellow, and I wouldn't say he was wrong on this count, you would possibly agree too. You have been also a world traveler. When he had traveled around the world, he found, or he felt, and I think he's right also, that the ladies of the Caucasus area, around the Caspian Sea, Iran and all that, they are the most beautiful. This is a subjective judgment, but he felt that way, and they're definitely beautiful. Guess what? So he said the Garden of Eden must be somewhere there, because that's as close to the perfection as it gets. And then it gets worse, So he also put himself, like Germany, at not this best superior place. That is why when we think of a Caucasus race as a white race, even in America, I mean, I used to do this as a fun, with my colleagues, and, they take it very sportively. So when sometimes the word is used, Caucasus, like race, when you're filling the form, I said, and Americans don't know their geography that well, the world geography, So I used to ask them, so do you know where these Caucasus mountains are? And you'll laugh the funny answers you'll get. Like, they will think, because they are thinking Scandinavians are beautiful in their eyes, they think like in Sweden, in Norway, in Denmark, something like that. No, they are in Iran, like the Caucasus Mountains are like the Iran border. I say, oh yeah, wow. So I said, do you know why you are considered a Caucasus race? I'm saying that is how that particular theory is flawed. But coming back to the native individuals around the world, by the way, I mean, India included, Africa, I mean, just go to any place, and of course, North America and South America. They not forget about asking for over more. They're asking for their basic rights, or sometimes it's a compensation. And sometime, Raju Malhotra talked in the context of United Kingdom exploiting India through 150 plus years. And he said, there are ways to compensate in a soft way. The first right step is to accept that a extreme exploitation, okay, that will not stand the rules of humanism or the basic rights. I mean, these people will be tried, in the courts. Okay, that thing happened. Once you acknowledge that, then there has to be a healing, which is to say, there is no point we always holding responsible for today's people, even the descendants of, say, Europeans, responsible for something that their great grandfathers did. But it's to recognize that the very better position financially and even socially that they might be in, or they are in, is partly due to that exploitation. So that recognition should be there.
Yeah, recently Jamaica asked for reparations from UK, and but the UK flatly refused. They're not responsible for it. But and the European settlers have a lot to give back to American natives, and that's why I also support. I'm not, in a way, I don't believe in race theory per se, like you said, because we believe in varna, guna, and karma. We believe in and I'll bring it back to Mahabharata also. Now, Arjun, when he goes to Uttar Kuru, he says the people were looking like Devata. And Arjun also recognized that, because he was part of the Kyrgyzstan, Sardiaz Nadi, which is even today, Sardiaz there. Yeah. Shadoba, Sardiaz, Chaloba, all the same river is still there.
Correct.
And so he also recognizes that. Sugriv also recognizes that. Sugriv's army, when it goes to North Uttar Kuru, he says people are good looking. As compared to what he has seen, doesn't mean somebody else become less beautiful.
Correct. But even in Hari Parva, see, it's not Hari Parva. Sanjay talking to Dhritarashtra about the world geography, he also says there are places like a Hari Parva, he calls another place. He says even than the Jambudvip or the greater Bharatavarsha, it is better in many ways. Like that's what Sanjay says to Dhritarashtra just before the war.
And those people in Uttar Kuru, now Uttar Kuru till if you go west from there, you reach Shakadweep. Now, even in those areas, they respected Arjun and Nakul more for their culture and education and the values that they bring. So their respect was coming from number one, military strength, because some people do not understand pravachan.
That's right. You have to speak the language the other party understands.
So they were barbaric even that time. So there is a comment over there that they are very Ishalu. Those people were Ishalu even at that time. So it's just the nature of the climate, or what do you call it, the soil and everything. People are generally barbaric. And they respected all these soldiers from India because they were ethical, dharmic. And like even World War II, World War I. So we conclusively debunk any kind of race theory because it is not based on guna and karma. But at the same time, we also respect, like Nilesh, you said it, the people who were oppressed, they deserve a apology. And if possible, reservations also. I go to even that extent.
Right. I mean, whatever is appropriate, whatever makes sense, right? I mean, we have also seen the negatives of reservations in the Indian context, or negatives of reservations for infinite time, at some point, because what happens is from any a section of the society, some people can exploit those rules to their advantage, but not necessarily let the other members of the society benefit, which is
Correct.
what is happening in India, right, with the reservation. So whatever is appropriate, but I think it begins with the recognition, begins with the acceptance that the wrong things were done to them. Like, you're aware of in Canada right now, the native people getting so
Waves are coming up.
frustrated, like the Catholic churches are being burned, right? For example. And so it's like, in some sense, the crusade, like sort of completing a circle in a different fashion, very different fashion. But yeah, but it's also important that we educate, right? We educate both sides, because there is no point holding, say, someone responsible today for the sins. I'm again using the word sins because that might be understood. But for the sins of their forefathers. Okay, that's what it is.
Yeah, and karma hurts you. Karma strikes back. Always
Correct. We would say karma, right? Because sin is not the Indian word.
is the
Sin,
word.
sin doesn't exist. It's a papa punya. It's like a good thing, bad thing, and even good, bad. Those words are also even not correct.
Not
So
correct. Yeah.
yeah.
So karma strikes back, and with that we get started. Nilesh, I think you can already share.
Okay. Very good. So let me do that. Yeah, you need to enable me with the sharing.
It's enabled.
Yeah. Perfecto. Okay. So I'll quickly go over what we did last time.
Yeah.
For just a very quick summary. So why do we use Western calendar? That is a question that repeatedly comes, and in a very naive fashion, many people from Sanatan Vedic Dharma from India, they feel that, oh, we should just use our Indian calendar. When they say that, what just that tells me, or tells anyone who understands even a little bit of calendrical system and astronomy, that they are clueless. They are clueless about the Western calendar, but they are also clueless about the Indian calendar. Only someone with a total cluelessness like that can say that, oh, why we not use the Indian calendar? That's why we started last time. One of the reason is we need a independent calendar based on the sun, that is to say, a purely solar calendar. Not only that, we need a purely solar tropical calendar, which is to say, which matches the particular points on the calendar of these points of solstices, points of equinoxes, what we call cardinal points. And as we go, that actually the current existing Western calendar, the Gregorian calendar, does a perfect job. It does a perfect job. Now, there were problems with that calendar before, and therefore we also went over the Julian calendar and the transition from Julian calendar to Gregorian calendar. But as it stands today, the Gregorian calendar, as a purely tropical solar calendar, it does a perfect job. And we do not, around the world, we do not know of any existing functional tropical solar calendar besides Gregorian calendar. I am not saying that they did not exist in the past, but something very interesting is going to come out of this discussion, Aditya ji, and when we get there, I'll tell you. Because if we go back in deep antiquity, I'll tell you how far back we have to go to recognize that India had a similar tropical solar calendar. But there are no traces of that calendar left with us other than the names of the tropical solar months, which means it existed. It also tells you it existed a very long time ago, because we don't see the traces of it even in the Ramayana times, which is 14,000 years ago. We do not see the traces of it even in the Mahabharata times, which is more than 7,500 years ago. And today, in the Indian lunisolar calendar, we do not have a truly tropical calendar. The concept exists even in our today's calendar, but we need something as a measuring marker. So it's not there. Therefore, we are forced to use, and no one should feel anything bad with it. Which is, I mean, right now, aren't we using laptops and aren't we using a Zoom technology to do this? So why only, I mean, when people are using, when people ask these questions, Aditya ji, they're asking the questions on a Twitter or they're asking the questions on a Facebook. I mean, they don't have a problem using Twitter or a Facebook. It's the same thing. Whatever is practical, whatever is best, whatever is useful should be used. And therefore, these calendars are why they are used in studying Indian history, ancient Indian narratives. Like when I found out the exact year for the Mahabharata war, 5561 BC, or Ramayana 12,209 BC, those numbers I'm giving you are using the Julian calendar. Now, Julian calendar only began in 45 BCE, but just like it can come forward, we can use it to measure things backward, like in the before Common Era, going back as long as we want, like 4004 BCE. Like people in Europe not that long ago thought that's when the Earth began. That's when the whole creation came into being, only 6,000 years ago. They extended the Julian calendar to calculate that time. Of course, the calculation is disaster. It's wrong. I mean, we know that now. But I'm saying they use that as a reference calendar. So yes, the calendar exists. Now, where we stopped last time was that if we looked at why there is a difference between the two calendars. Okay, so Julian calendar takes leap year every 4 years. Gregorian calendar also does the same, but with some exceptions. And we went through the exception, such as if the year is exactly divisible by 100, then that is not a leap year. But then there is one more exception. If the year is divisible by 100, but it's also divisible by 400, such as like 1600 or 2000, then again that is taken as a leap year. And that is this whole arrangement is done to adjust the average length of the year in Gregorian calendar to 365.2422. Now, why is that? So that actual number is very close to the actual length of the average solar year. Okay, there are also, you see some changes. So that's where we kind of stopped. And then one thing I showed is, what if I would have taken the Julian calendar, and let us say we would have not made any changes and transferred to Gregorian calendar, what would have happened in today's time? So that's where we stopped last time. So for example, Julian calendar was set to these days, 21st, 21st, 21st. Again, we are simplifying the days for the solstices and equinoxes. They are not exactly 21st. We are calling them 21st, 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 like December, March, June, and September for simplicity. But if we would have used that same calendar even today, then this is what we would have seen. We would have seen, for example, the summer solstice, instead of happening on 21st of June, okay, it would have happened on 4th of June. Okay, so it would have happened on 4th of June, but if we don't make that correction in our mind, we would have thought it still happens on 21st June. So the longest day actually occurred on 4th of June, but we are thinking it's going to happen on 21st of June. That was the problem that Roger Bacon has faced, and he tried to tell the church, the Pope, to change it. They had no clue about the length of the calendar. So few centuries went by, from 13, 14, 15 to 16th century. And finally, after 400 years or so, finally the change was made when they become aware of these sophisticated calculations for the calendars from India. And now they felt confident that what Roger Bacon was saying is correct. So credit does go to Roger Bacon for figuring this out with a very poor mathematical tools available in Europe in 13th century. Okay. But finally, when the sophisticated Indian astronomy became available to them, they could make this change. So these are the changes that would have happened. So today what we are going to do is, now, why do the days and months for the equinoxes and solstices shift as we study deep history? Well, we know they do shift. We don't have to go to deep history. If we use the same Julian calendar and use it even today, we would get a shift of what, about 17 days or so. I forgot. Yeah, about 17 days. We will get the shift from the Julian calendar when it supposedly began, 45 BC, to our times. But let us now go backwards. Okay. So why it will shift? We already explained. So we can go fast through this. The existing Western calendars are not perfect. Okay. It's okay to accept that. No calendar is perfect. And they accumulate error as we apply them to deep antiquity. But important thing to remember is that any calendar gets into this non-perfection thing and a correction needs to be made. For example, the Indian lunisolar calendar needs a correction almost every 3 years. Now it's a extremely sophisticated concept what Indian lunisolar calendar is. But in order for it to work in that precise and accurate fashion, it needs to be corrected with one Adhika Masa approximately every 2.5 years. That's the nature of it. Just like if you want a certain equipment to work the best, like an aeroplane or some machine, then it needs a frequent calibration. It needs a frequent maintenance. I mean, this is common sense, guys. Julian calendar shows more variation than Gregorian calendar. However, do remember that the date and months would shift in both calendars. Even a Gregorian calendar, say 3,000 years from now, would need a change of a day or something like this. Now, it is generally agreed convention. This is very important. So people also really understand that if we go beyond 1582, like CE, so if we go beyond that particular date when Julian to Gregorian transition took place, then for any event happening before 1582, by convention, we use the Julian calendar, unless we specify otherwise, saying, oh, by the way, that date is also according to the Gregorian date. Which is also to say, if a date is mentioned anytime after 1582, then by convention, we have to assume that that date is stated as a Gregorian date, unless somebody does otherwise, then the person has to state it. Like say, oh, by the way, that date is per Gregorian calendar and not Julian calendar. It is just a convention. Just like we have the time, time zones in America. Like some states, they are divided in the half, like Ohio, for example. And some states don't change their time at all, like Arizona. My point is, it's by convention, something like that. Now, what happens is, we know that the shift is going to happen. So naturally, the days, months for the points of equinoxes, solstices, and therefore the season, okay, they would shift as we go back in antiquity by thousands of years. Okay, this cannot be avoided. All calendars would experience it and will require calendar corrections, not just Julian and Gregorian calendar. It's very important for people to understand that and not be very novice, very juvenile in terms of just simply asking a question as if like they're asking a smart question, saying, why do we use Western calendars? Thus, the key is to understand how and why and how much of this shift occurs. Aditya ji, what happens is that is what causes confusion to many. Okay. Before we get into the confusion, but even actually resolving the confusion, let me just mention something else that people must be aware. What I'm going to give, say we'll go to the Mahabharata times, like 7,500 years ago, or we'll go to Ramayana times 14,000 years ago, and I will show you how much the points of solstices and equinoxes would shift with respect to what we are aware today. And that's what sometimes people are confused. For example, I'll wait for that to tell you what people's confusion is. But even when the dates I show those to you, be aware that from those dates, actually, when you go and look at the particular event in Ramayana or particular event in Mahabharata, the actual error from even that estimate can be plus minus 3 days or actually more, okay, with respect to the estimate. So while points of equinoxes and solstice would go backward from 45 BC to 21st century, you may not worry too much about what I mean by that. Like here, we went from 21st June, the summer solstice now would have come, if you would have used Julian calendar, to 4th of June or something. There you will see it goes backwards, okay? And I'll show you that what I mean. The points of equinoxes and solstices would go forward, okay, when Julian calendar is extended for time computation in antiquity, because right now they're going backward from 21st, say 21st June. If you would have used the Julian calendar from 45 BC to our times, it would have shifted from 21st June to 4th of June, like, coming forward, whichever way you want to understand it, it's going to go in the other direction. So think of that. So actual error is going to be few days from what I'm going to give you. And more further in antiquity you go, the delta is going to get bigger. And I'm going to show you exactly how much. And that is based on that simple formula of Julian calendar. Every 128 years, the particular solstice, equinox, everything is going to shift by 1 day. So let us take our journey. So we don't have to start from our times because we are going to use a Julian calendar. Let's take the so-called ideal timing of Julian calendar when Julius Caesar supposedly started this calendar around 45 BCE. Now that time, the equinoxes and solstices in that calendar were adjusted in such a way that they fell around this 21st of each month. Okay, again, this is a bit simplification for our simplicity. I don't want people to confuse with 23rd and 20 and whatnot. So I'm just calling everything 21st. 21st September, 21st December, 21st March, 21st June. Like today, we understand 21st June is what? The summer solstice. 21st December is winter solstice. 21st March is spring equinox. And 21st September, around that time, of course, is fall equinox. Okay, so now we are going to go backwards to 5561 BC, the time of Mahabharata, and then time of Ramayana. So let's see what the shift will occur. Okay. Now, remember what happened when we use Julian calendar to our times. Actually, the 21st June became 4th June. So it was going in a clockwise direction. Now we are going backwards in time from 45 BC. The shift is going to happen on the calendar in an anti-clockwise direction. That's what those arrows are showing. Okay. The seasons would remain there because we are holding to the points of equinoxes and points of solstices. So let's go to the Mahabharata times. That's going back to 7,500 years. How much shift would you see from this 21st December, September, March, June as we see today, or as people had it in the Julian calendar more than 2,000 years ago, around 45 BC? Okay, this is the shift they saw. For example, and this is very important, for example, the 21st September, which is a fall equinox, okay, the middle of a Sharad Rutu, it shifted when using the Julian calendar, okay, so that day of fall equinox happened using Julian calendar or on Julian calendar 7,500 years ago, around 2 November, around 2nd November, okay, so that's what I'm showing. Then winter solstice occurred around 1st of February. The spring equinox occurred around 2nd of May. And the summer solstice occurred around 2nd of August. Okay, it's going in that direction. 2 points I will mention just related to the Mahabharata, and we'll go to Ramayana. So this is 21st September is in our times or at the time of Julius Caesar. The shift happened to 2 November. Look at the shift, okay, from 21st September to 2nd November. In fact, in the year 5561 BC, indeed, the point of fall equinox was around 2nd November. And we can find out, anyone can go to any sophisticated astronomy software and find out for yourself that the Sharad Rutu began, which is to say 1 month before this fall equinox, on 3rd of October. And then after 1 month, you get the fall equinox. So the whole Mahabharata war that began on 16th of October and went until 2nd of November, actually that 2nd November, the last day of the war, was like the day, almost day of fall equinox, or very close to that fall equinox, okay? The whole thing happened in the Sharad Rutu. And that is exactly what Mahabharata text is. Mahabharata text has 30 plus references right during the 18 days of the war, telling that this was the time of Sharad Rutu. That is only possible if you go back 7,500 years ago. Quickly, those of you know, it's not in front of me, so some of you may remember, some of you may not remember. But those of you, when you get to listen to this, those of you who are listening now, but even otherwise, you can go back to my book, When Did the Mahabharata War Happen? And go to these dates and just check those. And you can again check it against astronomy software. But now let me take one more event from Mahabharata. Bhishma passed away on the bed of arrows after staying more than 92 days, more than 92, actually it was 98 days, on 31st of January, 5560 BCE. So 31st of January was a day after the winter solstice in 5561 BC year, or 5560, which means 30 January, 5560 BC was the day of winter solstice. Now compare this with this. We are saying in 5561 BCE, the winter solstice shifted in comparison to our today's time from 21st December to, instead of 21st December, on 1st of February. Now I'm saying 30 January. Why 1st of February? Remember what I showed you on the previous page. Actually, what happens in any given year, for many reasons, and you have to have some basic knowledge of astronomy to understand that. Otherwise, you take it this on the reverence, on the Shraddha, that, okay, whatever Nilesh is saying must be true. Or if I spend like a couple of hours, I will able to figure it out for myself. That's what you have to be convinced yourself. That there can be actually error of plus minus 2-3 days because of when exactly the leap year took place, and this is given for that time period, because remember that 1 day shift is happening after 128 years, so some additional stuff gets accumulated. Anyways, the point is 1 February is within plus minus 30 January in 5561 BC or 60 BC is very much within plus minus 3-4 days of 1st February. So that's how this is happening. So now that's why some people worry, oh, okay, so but I thought it's 21st December when it's a winter solstice. So why is Bhishma waiting until 30th of January for the day of winter solstice? Now you know why. Because the reference calendar we are using is a Julian calendar, and Julian calendar does experience a shift of 1 day every 128 years. We saw why that happens, because it takes leap year every 4 years without any exceptions. Okay, that's the challenge. That's the problem. Okay, now how did we calculate this shift? Look at the formula at the bottom, very simple. So we are going backwards from 45 BC by those many years. So 5561 BC minus 45 BC, that comes to what? 5516 years, 5516 years. Remember, every 128 days, the Julian calendar will experience a shift of 1 day. If we are going backwards, the shift would be in the anti-clockwise direction. If we are coming forward, the shift would be in a clockwise direction. This is anti-clockwise because we are going backwards from 45 BC. That number comes to 43 days. So once I got that 43, essentially what I did is from 21st September, I went to 43 backwards. Or forward, whichever you want to see it, 43, 43, 43. That's all I did. That's how precise, accurate, and beautiful the astronomy calendar can work, and it does work. Okay, and the seasons are where they are. So you can see exactly, Bhishma passed away right here. But remember, because we are using Julian calendar in 5561 or 5560 BCE, that day was not 21st December, but actually 30th of January 5560 BC, and Bhishma passed away a day after because the sun has to turn northward. Okay, and that was on 31st of January 5560 BC. Let's do Ramayana. Now, in this case, we are going backwards from 45 BCE to the timing of Rama's birth year. Okay, 12,240 BCE, and then of course you can remember some difference, but now the events are happening over next 100 years or so. More or less that should be same. The error of plus minus 3 days should take care of it. Again, we start with our 45 BCE Julian calendar. The days of solstices, the days of equinoxes, they align in 45 BC with 21st, 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 September, December, March, and June. Now we are going to go backwards. We are going to apply that correction. I'm not showing you the correction first. In fact, I'm going to show you how far back they go, and then we will calculate the correction. Look what happened. If you go back to that 14,000 years ago, to the time of Ramayana, the day of fall equinox, which right now in our times is around 21st September, is going to shift in the Julian calendar. How far back? It's going to go all the way to 24th December, which means in Ramayana times, in 13 millennium BC, on the Julian calendar, if extended backwards, the day of fall equinox, what we consider 21st September in our times, fell around 24th December. Now, fall, the winter solstice, that shifted from 21st December to 25th March. The spring equinox shifted from 21st March to 23rd June, and the summer solstice shifted from 21st June to 23rd September. How did we calculate this? Here is the calculation. Remember, we have to calculate the total duration. So to 12,240 BC, the year of Ram Janma, minus 45 BC, which is the baseline for the Julian calendar. That comes to 12,195 years. How did I get that? Simply subtracting those two numbers. Now, again, recall that for in a Julian calendar, every 128 years, whether you go backward or forward, there will be a shift of 1 day with respect to the any day actually, but because we are looking at the tropical solar calendar, because we want to understand the seasons well, we are nailing down these days of the cardinal points, solstices, equinoxes, and they would see this much shift. Every 1 day, every 128 years, 1 day shift. So that gives you approximately 95 days. So that's what we are doing. From 21st September, I am going counting 95 days, and that takes me to 24 December. Same thing I am doing for all four. Now let us do, and almost I'm done, because next time what we will do is, if you notice, so far I have not referred anywhere to the sidereal calendar. And what is a sidereal calendar? Sidereal calendar is that calendar which takes into account the stars, the zodiacs, the nakshatras, or the 12 zodiacs into account. Like we just asked the question. For example, in the Western calendar, you would have known that it was when, say, like Jesus' birth, like 2000 years ago. And that was like that happened, or that was a transition, or that happened during the when the sun was in the Pisces, okay, the zodiac, and now it is moving towards the Aquarius, okay. And therefore, if you know, some of you would know the secret symbol of early Christianity, okay, because until Theodosius, as a what you can say, as a state religion, he turned Christianity into a state religion. Until Theodosius did that, the many Christians had to practice it underground, okay, almost in a secrecy. And their symbol that they used was the symbol of the fish. You will find some sects in Christianity, like, they will, you can see on their cards, like they will have a symbol of a fish, and within that it's written Jesus, okay. It comes from that time, because 2000 years ago, the assumed time for Jesus, assuming he ever existed and he was around, that time was when the sun was in Pisces at the spring equinox. Okay, so so I'm saying we have not talked about that today until now. So if we bring the zodiac, or if we bring the nakshatra, which is to understand the India's lunisolar calendar, then what happens? Like, why does, so that's another question Aditya ji people ask. But before that, we will do one more thing. And next time we will answer that question with this. Is like they say, today in my times, in our times, we celebrate Rama Janma sometime in the month of April, maybe March. Some rarely we do that in the month of March. We do that in April, and it happens to be the month of Chaitra. Now, if those of you who have read my book, The Historic Rama, because we're talking Ramayana here, the Rama's birth year is 12,240. He was born on Chaitra Shukla Navami. The day, on the calendar, on the Julian calendar, was 29 November. They say, okay, so in our times, the Chaitra comes in April or March, rarely in March, but mostly in April, like the Ram Navami. Why is it happening in November? The answer is this right here, because we are using that reference calendar as Julian reference calendar, and it has to shift. Now somebody will say, well, let's not shift. No, that's not how the cosmos works. That's not how the calendar works. Important thing is not that you say the shift should not happen. Important thing is that you actually comprehend why shift happens, how to calculate it, and adjust your knowledge, adjust your brain. You cannot stop the sun and ask the sun to move in a certain different fashion, or the moon, or change of the seasons, or change of the star positions, or the precession of the Earth's axis. No, it's not within your power. But your little brain that you have on the top of your head here, actually, it's a very powerful instrument, and it is capable of comprehending what is happening. So that's required. So next time what we are going to do is we will look at how the lunar months of the Indian calendar, how they shift with respect to the purely tropical solar calendar, whether a Julian calendar or whether a Gregorian calendar. This is something more. Huh? So now what I'm saying is the fall equinox shifted from 21st September to 24th December on Julian calendar, if we go back 14,000 years to the time of Ramayana. But one must also understand, besides this, why the lunar month of Chaitra, instead of happening in April or March, as it happens in our times, why that was occurring during November, December, if we go back 14,000 years in antiquity. Again, you cannot just say, oh my God, I don't like it. No, why it has to be that way? Well, that's the reality, man. Okay. Comprehend the reality and adjust to the reality. If you truly want to know, I mean, if you want to be ignorant, then, yeah, you can be lazy and not know anything about the calendars, and that would be perfectly fine. Now, just want to show you some events of Ramayana, and then we are done, Aditya. So let's take event of, let's start with Rama Janma. Okay, so 29th November, 12,240 BCE. In our times, we will think, oh my God, that's like a 1 month before, or less than 1 month before the shortest day, before 21st of December. Okay, in the northern hemisphere, it's like a winter time, depending on your latitude location. But in Ramayana, at that time, the 29th November 12,240 BCE, month of Chaitra, and actually it was a month of a Sharad Rutu, okay, so early part of Sharad Rutu, and it is described as a beautiful time. It's described as a wonderful time. Okay, the whole forest are blooming with flowers. Okay, Chaitram Sri Manayam Masa Punya Pushpita Kanana. Okay, the whole forest are blooming with flowers. It's like a fall season or like a spring season. Of course, it was a fall season, because spring season and month of Chaitra is now. And it's important that Ramayana did not happen in our times. It's not happening here. Now you just go look for where is Ram. Okay, well, Ram is there in your heart, but the physical Ram that was here as an avatar, he's not here right now. He was not there 2,000 years ago, and he was not there 4,000 years ago. Okay, so therefore we have to go through the whole cycle of precession of the equinoxes, in fact halfway, to get to the Sharad Rutu. So I'll show you, and I'll do back and forth between this and this. So these are our like seasons, so that you have a reference. I'm going to go back and I will come back. So let's take Rama Janma, 29th November 12,240 BCE. So where does that fall? That will fall somewhere here. Okay. And so I'm just showing that as a here, but it was right the part of the Sharad Rutu. And that's where Ram was born. Okay. Now let's go further and ask another one. Rama Sita Vivaha, it took place towards the end of Sharad Rutu. And so that 24th, so remember 4th, 5th of January, let's go back. The 24th December was the middle point of a Sharad Rutu. Okay, the fall equinox. So 24th December to maybe what, 23rd January, that is the end of the Sharad Rutu. And Rama Sita Vivaha took place around 4th, 5th of January. So it took place in the second half of a Sharad Rutu. And that's what the descriptions tell us. Okay. Now Ram and Sita and Lakshman left for Vanvas. Again, that was a Chaitra Shukla Navami. Rama was going to be coronated as a Yuvaraj. Instead, he was sent for 14 years Vanvas. That date is 21st December. Now, there's sometime I give 2 dates is because, like, when mathematically calculating using the software or even manual calculation, it's not clear. And this has to do with the position of the moon, which nakshatra or which tithi would happen. So I just gave that error bar as a 2 days. So 21st, you can say December 12,223. Again, this was the time of Sharad Rutu. Okay, so look at that, 21st December, which is very, very close to the middle point of equinox. Okay, like the fall equinox. So that's that. Now Rama kills Khara and Dushan. Now, this we know from the descriptions of Valmiki Ramayana that this happened when there was a winter weather. In fact, the descriptions are such that in the ponds, okay, there were no lotuses, and even the aquatic life was not smoothly roaming around. In fact, they were just down in the depths of the pond, like they were hibernating, so to say. It was a very winter-like situation at that time when Rama killed Khara and Dushan, okay, in the Panchoti area. That's 28th March. Let's go back and see if that matches with that particular time of a winter weather. Look here. Okay, what was that day there? Sorry, I forgot. 28th of March. There you go. And look here. The 25th of March was the time of winter solstice, like think of 21st December. And after that, just few days after that is when Rama killed Khara Dushan. Now in India, in our times, it doesn't feel that cold, even in winter. But for that, I will encourage all of you to watch my talk, the talk that was given by me and Rupa Bhattiji together at Oxford University about certain references, 3 different references from Surya Siddhanta. Those 3 references take you to 12,000 BC, which is the time of Ramayana, and they tell you why the winters were longer and severe, extremely severe. Okay, even in a place like India, 14,000 years ago. This is not coming from Valmiki Ramayana, this is coming from Surya Siddhanta. But if you read Valmiki Ramayana, you will see the descriptions of the winter in exactly the same fashion. Okay, something very beautiful. Then let's go 3 more. Rama kills Wali. I don't know how many of you remember it. This was just at the beginning of a rainy season in India. Now, when does the rainy season begin in India? At the time of summer solstice. Okay, the 4 months of monsoon. And that's why Rama says, now Rama tells Sugriva, even after killing the Wali, he says, well, I really want you to look for Sita, but it's a heavy monsoon time. Let's take a break for 4 months. And as soon as the Sharad comes, I want you to call all the Vanara parties and send them in all directions. So this discussion is happening just after Rama killed Wali, and the day was 22nd September. Let us see where 22nd September is. Okay, here, say 21st June to 22nd September, almost 23rd September, which is what? When Rama killed Wali, Valmiki Ramayana tells us it was at the beginning of a rainy season, Varsha season. That's why they stayed there for 4 months before started their search for Sita. And guess what? That exactly Rama killed Wali right at the summer solstice. I mean, maybe a few days plus minus. Remember, there can be an error of few days. And from that time, actually, Rama and Lakshman stayed outside Kishkinda for approximately 4 months, the 2 months of Varsha season and 2 months of Sharad season. And towards the end of it, already here, like Sugriva ordered for Vanaras to come and meet here. And then finally, at the end of Sharad season, they left looking for Sita. They traveled, some other parties, they came back, but the southern party traveled through Hemanta season, traveled through Sharada season, actually even traveled through Vasanta season. And they were frustrated because Sugriva has only given a time limit of 1 month. But finally, at the end of Vasanta, Hanuman went to Lanka. He figured out, he met Sita. He came back in the Grishma. And again, by this time, they had no choice because now they knew exactly where Sita was. And Ravana had given a certain time limit for Sita to make the decision. So in spite of the rainy season, they continued through the rainy season towards Lanka. And towards the end of the Sharad season, the Ram-Ravan Yuddha took place and Rama killed Ravana. So that's the story. So Rama kills Ravana, that is 7th of January. Again, it was the Sharad Rutu. And you can see that 24th December is the middle of Sharad Rutu. 1 month is left. So it was the second part of Sharad Rutu. That's when Rama killed Ravana. And Rama returns to Ayodhya. Now, this happened also at the end of Sharad Rutu. In fact, it was the month of Vaisak. Okay, Vaishak. Like we celebrate Vaisakhi now as a spring, but we are going back 14,000 years through the precession cycle, half precession cycle. So therefore, the Vaishak occurred at that time. Instead of at the end of spring, it occurred at the end of a pre-autumn season or Sharad season. That's 13th of January. So again, you can see where that falls. It will fall at the end of Sharad season because the middle of Sharad season is 24th December. So you can take these instances and say, this is what is important. So just somebody finding a date is not sufficient. You have to also match the seasons that are described in Valmiki Ramayana for specific instances. And you cannot just do that in a haphazard fashion. It has to fit everything, like 600 plus specific astronomy references to planets and comets and tithis and lunar months and seasons and whatnot, like a jigsaw puzzle, and that only fits for this 12,209 BC. So with that, I'll stop sharing, Aditya-ji. And hopefully I did not bore you guys. So, but this is very important if we want to truly understand how we figure out the dating of historical events. You know, there is no alternate to this. So we must understand the shift that happens in the Western calendars. We must also understand the precession of the Earth's axis and why the lunar months of an Indian calendar also shifts with respect to season.
It took almost, the BC date was fixed randomly, like 525. In the 525 Common Era, they fixed the date 500 years back randomly. There was a lot of differences because they could not fix the date, mythological date of Jesus' appearance, which we don't know. So in the case of Indian calendars, for those who want to use Indian calendar system, what is the best, what is the closest people can see?
Okay, the closest, well, we don't have to even go for a closest. We can go for the most accurate and precise. And next time I'll show that to you. It gets the best of everything. And some time ago, it actually did exist. Now, so we should ask that very interesting question, Aditya-ji. Is like, so the truly tropical solar calendar is, by the way, we are I don't know if you saw the weather. We are having the tropical storm, the very mild form of tropical storms. Right now, it's very heavy and rainy. I talked about the Varsha Rutu, Rama killing Wali, and now it's like very heavy rain outside. But anyways, so the answer to that one is, so if you see dark area here, that is because suddenly light has gone away. I started something called Bharat Dinadarshika. Okay, and next time I will share. I will show how the shift of lunar months happen with respect to season, why that happens. Okay, by the way, before answering your that main question, so simple answer is Bharat Dinadarshika. It uses the truly tropical solar months from Yajurveda. Now, let me give you that aha moment to you and the audience. See, ancient India also had a tropical solar calendar like a Gregorian calendar or a Julian calendar. And that calendar was better than Gregorian or Julian calendar. We will talk about that next time. But what happened to that? Guess what? That calendar was not in use. People refer to it very roughly, but it was not in use in Ramayana times. So 14,000 years ago, it was not in use. It was not in use in the Mahabharata times. You don't find the mention of that in the Mahabharata, 7,500 years ago. But it was in use at some point. What does that tell you? It was in use long before Ramayana. So we have to go to how far back we have to go? More than 14,000 years ago. And whenever that time of a Yajurveda, which is when it was there. So in a way, we didn't use it. That is a bad thing. But the fact that we have evidence that it existed, but it was not in use during the Ramayana times, not in use during the Mahabharata times, tells you how antique, how deep, how old is the Indian civilization, even a sophisticated calendar. And so that's one. The next one is Bharat Dinadarshika. What I've done is I collaborated with the living Panchanga tradition of India. I don't know, you should know. Date Panchang of Solapur.
That's right.
Okay, so that those guys, I mean, so the viewers, this is the native place of Aditya ji, okay. So the Panchanga makers, the calendar makers from that place, who have a living tradition at least 400 plus years of Panchanga makers, considered most precise and most accurate. So I collaborated with them. But just to tell you how long does it take, like I started this whole effort in 2012. It took me 8 years before finally I could connect with them, I could convince them. And now these particular calendar in a simple form right now, eventually the idea is to develop a application so that everyone can have it on their phones and they can know the exact timing, everything, tithi, nakshatra for their location. That is the idea. But right now it is updated in a very simple format. Every morning 5:30 in the morning India time, it is updated on a Twitter. So if anyone wants to, and people should do this, if people really care, as they say, that they don't want to see a Western calendar being used for determining the Indian dates or referring to the Indian birthdays and so on, they have to embrace this calendar. Okay, they have to make this popular, called Bharat Dinadarshika, the Sanatan calendar. What it does, it takes the tropical solar months, it defines the tropical solar year, and it also defines the sidereal solar year. It also has a sidereal lunar year. It has everything. And it's still very, very simple, very accurate, to the extent, just as a fun tidbit, I will say, trivia. Some of the solar months in that calendars have a length of 32 days. And some of the solar months in that calendar has a length of 29 days, which is not a surprise, by the way, because we are used to that February. But there is no day which is 28 days long, but there are days which are 32. And this, why 32? Because that's a true tropical solar calendar, unlike Gregorian calendar or unlike Julian calendar. So that's why I said it is even actually more precise, more accurate than even Julian or Julian or Gregorian calendar. But it's a new thing for people, right? So therefore it will take some time.
Thank you so much, Nilesh. I have a lot of questions and I have a lot of comments, but I know the time is up and a lot of people. So do watch it on YouTube, and all these questions that you have given me and I have, we'll discuss that in the next show. Thank you and namaste.
Namaskar.